Hi, this is Dr. Geneva, and today on Ignite to Impact, listen to Sherry Sims, who from a LinkedIn group grew a thriving business, a national movement to help women get career success. Learn all kinds of tips, including how to navigate workplace politics. And welcome to Ignite to Impact, brought to you by Dr. Geneva Speaks. Now, I want to ask you, by any chance, do you perhaps have a level of dissatisfaction with your career or not certain about where you're going in terms of what it is you're doing, or are you perhaps unsure about how to navigate the workplace or your next career move? Or maybe you just want to increase your power presence and your brand identity. Well, guess what? I have got the founder of the Black Career Women's Network with us today. And we're going to have a conversation with this renowned career strategist who's had over 15 years of experience in talent acquisition and being HR, a human relations professional who knows what it is to have a great career and how to help others do it, because she started a national movement to help people get career success. She's been cited in Who's Who for her work, and she's a trailblazer in the whole professional and career growth space. And the media calls her all the time as a career expert. So who am I talking about? I am talking about Sherry Sims. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on. Good morning, everyone.
It is just such a pleasure to talk with you. And I know you're calling in from Cincinnati, Ohio. We love Ohioans. And so how's the weather there?
It is cloudy this morning.
Okay.
But it's 50 degrees, and I'm happy with that. There's no snow.
That's right. And, we are happy that you are with us. So, Sherry, tell us a little bit about Black Career Women's Network, what it does, and why you started it.
Sure. What Black Career Women's Network is, we are a national career development organization. We support African-American women in their professional development. And how I started this is a little bit of it's actually a story that's kind of a divine calling, I would say. Initially, in 2008, while I was working in HR, I was overlooked for a promotion, and so I started to look for a mentor, and I wanted to look for someone who looked like me, that was at more of a higher executive level that could help to groom me for a C-suite role. I couldn't find someone, so I decided to, just look for other avenues to talk to women and get advice. And then I stayed late at work one night, and I discovered the group on LinkedIn, and so I created a LinkedIn group, and I called it Black Career Women's Network. I was really excited about it. I thought women would join in the LinkedIn group, and we could have dialogue and share advice or exchange stories or what have you, and nothing happened. I mean, it was like crickets. When I say no one was joining the group, so I forgot about it and moved on. Mm-hmm. And relocated to another city in 2010 and landed in Ohio. And at that stage, I decided that I took a new job. And about 3 months into the new position, I sat down in my seat, turned my computer on, and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm so tired of being in HR. I said, I know I can do something else. How can I take my experience and use it in a different way? And I did not know what to do. I was clueless on what could be next for me. I was like, okay, how can I research this? What can I do? And by coincidence, I was called to do a job fair because the person who was supposed to do the job fair called in sick, and I reluctantly did it because I hate doing job fairs. Mm-hmm. And it was probably the one thing that shifted everything, the direction of my life, because the lady approached the table and she said to me, we're looking for community partners. Would your organization be willing to do it? Now, in my mind, of course, I'm still trying to figure out an exit strategy to get out of here and transition to a new career. But still, I had an initiative with my current company to partner with the nonprofit organization. So I called her up and said, "Come on, let's do it. Let's partner."
Okay.
She came in. She talked to me about it. Here we go. She told me about what she did. She told me about what the organization does, and I lit up on the inside. This fire came in me, and I said, "I want to do that. That's what I want to do next. I want to help people." I said, "I want to help people find careers. I want to help them prepare themselves for success." So we partnered. I wanted to work for them. There wasn't any job opportunity, so I volunteered. And that's the power of volunteering.
Volunteer, okay.
This is what I'm saying, you guys. I don't know somewhere with this. I volunteered my time.
Yes. And so that led you right into finding your path. I mean, you weren't looking for it in one way, but then in another way, it just kind of presented itself to you.
Yeah, it really did, because once I started volunteering for them, I really enjoyed it. So I would go monthly, and then typically I would go in and I would, talk to the group or do a presentation, and I would leave. And one time I did it, which was the last time I did it, I happened to stay over afterwards to talk to some of the team. And that changed everything, because I found out that someone was leaving, and the person who was leaving happened to be relocating to the city I had relocated from. And we started talking, and I said, "This is my opportunity. This is my chance." So I submitted my cover letter and resume to the president and got the job. Now, there is also a caveat to that.
All right. A lesson learned.
It was a lesson learned. But here's another thing, for people who are listening.
Yes. Is
that I took a huge pay cut to take this job, because I wanted so much to be able to change the trajectory of where I wanted to go. So sometimes it's not always about the money, it's about the job satisfaction. It's about the freedom and fulfillment to be able to flourish and thrive in what you want to do next.
So sometimes it isn't all about the money or the salary, and it seems like you're also saying it's important to take a longer term view of the possibilities, not just what's facing you with that salary or current salary, but what the potential might be.
Right, and that's how I viewed it. I viewed it as a potential for me to grow. I viewed it as a potential possibility for me to share my contributions and expertise in what I have learned from being an HR professional with people who are looking job seekers who are looking to grow themselves. What happened in the process was I discovered things about myself I didn't know. I at that point I understood, or I was able to see, I'm a natural speaker. I'm a natural facilitator. That I was able to put together programs and present those things. I was great at presenting. And so these are things I never knew about myself, because consistently I never performed those things in my HR role. So it was great to discover things about myself. And sometimes if you're not willing to explore that, how will you know what else you're good at? Yes.
So, Sherry, I mean, you have just given us, just so many tips and strategies. You talked about the volunteering, spending some time checking out where you might want to be or what you might like to do. You talked about the self-discovery of new talents, or talents that you always had, but you just weren't aware of them at the time. You talked about taking the longer term vision. What other steps or strategies or tips do you have for women who want to grow their career?
I would say do not be afraid to take risks, and do not allow money to be the number one focus of your journey or your growth. When we focus too much, and don't get me wrong, yes, we do have to pay the bill. Absolutely, okay. What I'm saying here is that if your gifts and talents are not being served in what you're currently doing at the time, or you have a huge dissatisfaction or unhappiness with what you're doing, it does not mean that a lower salary is something that you should not consider. Because, again, I was making $30,000 less a year, but I had so much more fulfillment with the work that I was doing that I was okay with that. And then at some point, that's, it actually turned into BCWN, actually evolved by being in this role.
Yes.
So you never know specifically by taking a risk and looking at the longer term the longer term vision for what the choices that your career choices you're making and where you want that to take you.
Yes.
And I try to get women to understand is that, you know, your calling or your particular talents or gifts that where they're suited for you and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing in terms of your work, it may not be a six-figure salary. And so you have to be clear on, you know, what's more important, the happiness and the fulfillment of what you're doing, or is about buying $200 shoes and handbags? What's more important? And so,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, and to do that, and I love how you, you know, position that. You know, you do have to take a deep breath, though. You know, when you think about paying, I got to pay the bills. I remember when I was making a transition from United Way, running United Way, to this new experimental demonstration foundation. It was a tremendous pay cut. And I remember my husband saying to me, you know, now, Geneva, is you sure you want to do this? You know?
Right.
And, but he gave me the support. And I think that's the other thing. You got to find sometimes that support to kind of help you. And as it turned out, it was the best career move I could have ever made. And in fact, I got back to my salary and surpassed it within a few years. So I just think that your advice about fulfillment, finding that fulfillment, and really being happy with what you're doing and where you are is so important. And so you found that to be a key to career success. What else? What else have you learned as you've grown the Black Career Women's Network?
Well, I've learned too, just through conversations I've had with women, and I'm kind of keeping this from a practical standpoint of women who are working, you know, with 9 to 5 and you know, in the workplace, is that I think sometimes we look down on lateral moves as well. And lateral moves can be great because lateral moves, they may not give you the pay increase you're looking for, but they could also put you in a position to gain more exposure and visibility within the organization.
Okay.
It can also allow you opportunity to gain more skill sets in a different environment. So I think sometimes we do not need to look over lateral moves because they can be very beneficial to who you can connect with. Okay. In terms of they can be a sponsor for your next opportunity. So,
okay. So it's not always just about climbing up that ladder. You know, maybe going to the side, you know, is always great. So if you're just joining us, I am having a delightful conversation with Sherry Sims, the founder of Black Career Women's Network, a national movement dedicated and passionate about helping people get career success. And we've just been talking about some of the steps and techniques and tips women can take to really grow their career. Now, Sherry, you know, your focus is on helping women, and so you've probably talked to hundreds and hundreds of women. Can you share with us what you've discovered, what women tell you are the top challenges that they face in the workplace?
Oh, yes. What I find often, because, you know, Black women do have a different experience or a unique experience in the workplace. A lot of people, you know, when I tell them that, I get this deer in the headlight look, unless it's one of us, right? We understand the plight, but others do not. But one thing I get most often is that navigating office politics, how to play the game. A lot of us do not want to do that. We want to go to work. We want our education, and we want to go to work and do a good job, and want our work to speak for itself. And that's not enough. And I know that sounds, for some women, they may just gasp back when they hear that, but it's true. You doing a good job is just one portion of your work. It's all about being able to play the game and know who the key players are, and building relationships. Having a good presence, in a strong communication style that is effective, and that you're treating everyone the same.
Okay,
So,
now Sherry, now I got to slow you down. You got to run through that list again, because I hear the same thing about, and we don't talk about that a lot. We don't talk about, because what you said was it not just about doing a good job. And we, particularly as women, particularly as Black women, we want to be prepared. We want to be, dot the I's, cross the T's, get all the certifications, make sure. And then, here we are super prepared, but yet we're not seeing the success in careers that others do. And what you're saying is it's not just about that. You also have to play the game. And then you ran down like 3 or 4 things that we have to do. Share that with us again.
Okay, so first, you want to make sure that you understand the dynamics of your workplace culture. So that means you need to know who are the key influencers, who are potential allies, who could be a sponsor. And you also need to know who are going to be some of your who are some of the people within the environment that display toxic behaviors, because those are the ones you want to be able to stay away from or know exactly how to handle them. And you also want to make sure that you have a great presence. And what I mean by power presence, right, or leadership presence, and how you're being perceived, you control how you're being perceived. So it's in reference to how you communicate with others and being consistent in your behavior towards everyone. And just being aware, you have to be aware of the workplace culture. You need to know what the hidden workplace rules are. That's important too. And then just know you cannot come into that workplace and not understand the dynamics of how things are done. Your work may be impeccable, but it doesn't matter if you do not have strong working relationships. Wow.
Yeah.
And you have a certain presence about you.
Yes, rapid. Yes. And, I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I'm, in fact, developing some courses now, some self-study courses, some online courses about the very subject you're talking about, because I've found as well that we're just not teaching that. Where do you go to find out how to do what you're talking about? And someone like you, with your credentials, your experience, you're such a trailblazer in the professional and career growth, that these are some topics that we need to really be talking about. So I just appreciate you bringing that in. Now I want to ask you something else, because I'll tell you something that I get from women all the time too, and maybe you have some insight on this, and that is, how do you balance life and career? Because, we've been talking about this career, how to make it, how to do it in the workplace, how to have influence, how to navigate. So you do all that, and then you got a home life, or kids, or a husband, or a partner, or somebody. How do you balance all that? Do you have any tips or strategies or perspective on that?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think you can only balance it out for a short period of time, which means that you can only master it for so long, and then someone drops the ball or something happens. So the main thing is to have support and to put in place some sort of system to help try to be consistent with that.
Okay.
But I've come to the realization that even no partners, whether it's you by yourself or whether you have there's a 2-parent household or what have you, I still think that it's all about just being able to, be prepared to adapt and shift when necessary, because things can change. Life is so fluid, right? Things happen, ebbs and flows of life, that you need to be adaptable and to whatever comes your way. And I think, to me, that's the philosophy of it, is being able to be adaptable. You can be as prepared as much as you can. And then have things in place. So what if this happens, or what if that happens? But I think keeping an adaptable attitude and being prepared being prepared the best as you can is probably the best thing. Women say you can have it all. You can have it all, but for a price.
Ooh, have it all, but for a price. Boy, I definitely want to. Yeah, I want to follow that through with you. We're going to have to come back and have a whole conversation about that, because one of the things I found is that sometimes women, they don't want to, quote unquote, pay that price. So then does that mean that you can't have a vibrant life? I don't think so, but there's, ways that we can do this. So, that seems like a topic in itself. Are you willing to pay the price?
whether you choose to believe it or not, you will pay the price. And I'm not saying
yes.
to be negative, but at some point, something was going to lack. So you're looking at working, taking care of your family,
yes.
taking care of your household, and then you have to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
So it's not that you're unable to do those things, but there's going to be something that will not get as much time as another.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to spend more time in one place than another, and something's going to get a lack of attention, whether
yes.
you choose to believe it or not.
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't see your comments as negative at all. I see them as real, and I think, and I loved it. I love the real talk, because again, I think we have to, from people who know, like yourself. I mean, you've been in the trenches. You know what you're talking about. You've experienced, you've lived it, and you've seen success in your Black Career Women's Network. So you know what you're talking about. So you talking some real stuff. I was looking on the website, and I saw something that you said, and I want you to comment on it for us as we're doing these last few minutes. I could, talk to you for about another hour or so, but you said the life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living.
Yes.
You got to, rap on that.
That is my mantra. I discovered that quote back in 2008, right around the time where I had, had gotten looked over for promotion, and I was listening to a well-renowned pastor who said that, and I had to piece it together because I would listen to her sermon every morning, but didn't put the whole. I kept missing bits and pieces of it. When I finally got the whole entire quote, a jolt came through my body. When I say this for real, I mean, this is like real story. When I read the entire quote, it went through me, and at that point, I realized there was something more out there for me. And I share this quote with everyone, and this is kind of my philosophy around it, that when the life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living, because God gives us all special talents and gifts. It's our job to discover what our gifts are and use those to work in our purpose. And we are continuously looking for, or on that journey and that path to fulfillment, and for freedom, so we can flourish and thrive in what we were put on this earth to do. And so for me, when I heard that quote, that's what that means. Freedom and fulfillment to flourish. And I knew at that stage in my life there was something out there that I hadn't done yet, so that's more for me. And so I challenge women when they hear this quote, if you feel unsatisfied, if you feel like there's something more out there for me, discover what your true gifts are, or learn how to use those in a different way. You will know within your soul when you have come to that place of, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is it.
Yes, I love it. Live large. I love it. That has so much, meat and soul in it. I love it. And that's what you've been doing to help. That's what I'm understanding that really the Black Career Women's Network is all about, that you're helping women learn how to live larger, because to discover their gifts, to do all of that, because it is an opportunity to live a vibrant life that you can have all of that. I just love it. And Sherry, I just have to give you kudos back. I mean, I love how you started from a LinkedIn group to just growing this thriving business that you have. And I'm a big LinkedIn fan. And I want you to, I'm a co-author of a book that's coming out in just a couple of weeks, LinkedIn for Business Consultants, where, we kind of talk about influencing, and I just want you to make sure that you know that LinkedIn and where you started and what we're doing now, and using those tools of influence really makes a difference for women, and we just love the work that you do.
Thank you so much. And it's so funny. I know we don't have much time to talk about it, but we can do it another portion where I could share with you how the LinkedIn group really helped to birth BCWN, but not in the way that you think.
Okay.
So I'd love to be able to share that part.
Oh yes, no, that's what we want to hear, because we want to hear the real stories. Yes. So Sherry Sims, thanks so much for all that you do. Congratulations to you for all your success, for being a career strategist focused on helping women see the life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living. We love you. We thank you. And I'm going to have you back, and we're going to do part 2.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Would love to.
Okay.
I'd love to come back.
Thank you, Sherry Sims. This is Dr.
welcome.
Geneva, and we'll see you next